Hometown New Telecom Channel 8. Streaming live at www.kutztown.edu/KUR or through an app like TuneIn, MyTuner. This is the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR Kutztown, and you are listening to the Golden Hour, your home for all things insights, discussions, recaps, and interviews about all things Kutztown sports. I'm Tommy Scuderi here with you, and just one fall sports remain, that being football. Field hockey, soccer, and volleyball have all come to a close. We will recap those seasons here on the show before talking about the last fall team still standing, that being the Golden Bear football team. We'll start off with the field hockey program. Field hockey beat Assumption in the first round of the NCAA playoffs after falling just short to Shippensburg. Kutztown fell just short to Shippensburg in the PSAC championship game by a score of 2-1. The Raiders would win their their second straight PSAC title. In that one, Kutztown would advance against Assumption to head to the semifinals to see the Raiders again for the third time this season, but unfortunately would fall 3-1 in the semifinal game to Shippensburg, who would go on Sunday to beat Newberry to win their fifth national championship in 9 years. So the dynasty's still going there for the Raiders, despite a new head coach taking over the program. Kutztown Field Hockey, they finished the season 20-2, with both losses coming in either a playoff or a conference title game, both to Shippensburg. So a tough conclusion there for the field hockey program, who went the entire regular season unbeaten, had the most amount of wins in program history, finished the season regular season champs, and were on their way to try and secure at least the conference with a perfect season, but fell just one goal shy to Shippensburg before seeing them again on Friday and scoring the first goal of the game, but then allowing up three straight to ultimately end their season. And I think there's a lot of heads being held kind of low in this field hockey program, and I understand it. You know, you went into the season with the goals of make it back to a national championship game, which they'd done the past 2 years, and also to win their first ever PSAC title. And at the end of the day, you don't accomplish any of those goals, but you still won the regular season. You realize your roster was incredibly deep, even if you knew it in practice. You saw it week in and week out against the best conference in Division II field hockey, being the PSAC. You went through the entire regular season unbeaten. You actually did beat the eventual national champion Shippensburg 2-0 in the final game of the regular season. So I think there's a lot to really look forward to for this Kutztown team. They will be losing a ton of key contributors to graduation, but I think that their roster is plenty deep enough, and with the recruiting class that is brought in, I think they signed 11. There is plenty to like next year in the coming seasons under head coach Marcy Schewing in this Kutztown field hockey program, as they now will unfortunately have to start over, ending the season just shy of winning a PSAC title or making it to the national championship game, but still making it to the Final Four 3 years in a row. That's no easy feat. So congratulations to the field hockey team, finishing 20-2 on the season. You know, despite the fact that there were certainly some tears at the end of the road there. Tough loss up at Bloomsburg, but still plenty to hold your head high about if you're this Golden Bear field hockey team. And now we switch gears over to volleyball. We'll recap their season. Their season ended a week or so ago. They end just one match shy of making the playoffs in the first season under new head coach Jason Barshinger. And for a team that went 1-27 a year ago, to finish 15-13 is just remarkable. 2 games over 500. They beat Shippensburg, which was the number 2 team in the conference, to close out their season, and really had a fighting chance to make their way into the playoffs if they had a little bit of help on Friday. Would not happen, but they beat Shepherd, who was ahead of them 3-2. Had an outside chance, and then beat Shippensburg 3-1 on senior day. It's no slack Shippensburg team. They closed out the season with 3 straight match wins. Will finish 15-13 on the year, and for a team that Coach Barshinger didn't even really get to recruit, right? He came in, he had the roster that was already here, a team that won just one match a year ago and turned them into a 15-win team. I mean, that is remarkable. Madeline Begovic and Paige Skinner both made it to PSAC All-Conference honors. Begovic was PSAC East Freshman of the Year, and Paige Skinner was on the All PSAC Conference team alongside Begovic. Closing off senior day with a 3-1 win over Shippensburg, and now the future is quite bright for this volleyball program as they have seemed to have turned it around, and we'll look next year with the goal of, okay, now we've had a winning record. Let's get back to the playoffs for the first time since 2011. Soccer program went on a run, made it back to the PSAC championship game, just like they did last year, but unfortunately fell just a little bit short to Shepherd, 4-1 in that game. Shepherd, a tough team there. That was on November the 16th. They did earn a bid to the NCAA tournament, taking on Fairmont State and scoring the first goal up there at Shepherd, who hosted the first pod, but fell 2-1. Did the soccer program, but making it to back-to-back PSAC title games and back-to-back appearances in the NCAA tournament. No terrible feat there. So that does it for 3 of our 4 fall sports. We'll talk basketball a little bit later in the show. We had Coach Maloof on last week. Handful of games played on both the men's and the women's side. But I'm Tommy Scuderi here. You're listening to the Golden Hour here as we want to talk a little bit of football. Kutztown was in the first round of the NCAA playoffs this past Saturday against Bentley, and they handled business. They won 52-0 in the first round, pitching the first shutout in postseason history, the most amount of points that they've scored in a playoff game, and the largest margin of victory that Kutztown has ever had in a playoff game. And I mean, truly, it was just from start to finish. It's not even necessarily true. I know I was at that game on KUR, and there was a little bit of fear of deja vu of a first-round upset from last year. Kutztown lost to Slippery Rock, and it was the second round, but that was back when the first-round bye was still a thing. So it was Kutztown's first round of the playoffs, Slippery Rock second. Slippery Rock upset Kutztown in overtime. I thought we may be looking at another upset here for Bentley because the opening kickoff was fumbled for Kutztown. They got the ball first. I believe it was Rich Pacheski returned it, had the ball knocked free, and Bentley fell on it at the 22-yard line. I was like, uh-oh, might be one of those games. But it wasn't. Kutztown defense forces a turnover on downs. Bentley went for it on fourth down. They go right down the field, does KU, and score. There was another fumble on KU's next offensive possession, but the defense again forces a punt, and Bentley just could not do anything really all day offensively. They had some moments here or there that you could point to as not a complete loss of a game, but Kutztown was just very clearly the better team. They advanced to 12-0 on the season. They won 3 straight PSAC titles this past year, did the KU football team. Won it in 2023, 24, and then 25 over IUP. IUP, who was really expected to be the rematch. We'll break a little bit more about the Division II playoffs in just a little bit. But everyone kind of circled IUP over Assumption in that game to head back to Kutztown and take on the Golden Bears in a rematch of the game that happened a week ago. Won't happen. IUP fell to Assumption, so it'll be KU and the Greyhounds, the rematch of a season opener from this year. Kutztown took down the Greyhounds 51-14 in that game. That was a game the one that lasted like 5.5 hours. There was multiple rain delays. For us here on KUR, for many of us, it was our first, I think for everyone, it was our first game covering the team in whatever specific role we were in. And we were trying to find a way to keep everyone engaged and listening in the middle of an hour-and-a-half weather delay that happened twice. Game started at 7 o'clock on a Thursday night, did not end until 12:30 Friday morning. So that was an absolute marathon due to weather delays, but Kutztown ultimately did take down the Greyhounds in that season opener. Assumption would not lose another game after that until they lost to Bentley on November the 7th. That earned Bentley a playoff spot because they won their conference. So Assumption finished, I believe it's 7-2 on the year. They get an at-large bid into the playoffs, and they take down IUP on the road and would now have a rematch against the Golden Bears to try and earn a ticket to the Super Region Championship game. But I want to quickly go through this box score here for KU. Obviously, they pitched a shutout, so they outscored Bentley in every quarter. But only 7 points in the first quarter, 17 in the second, 14 in the third, and then 14 in the fourth for a total of 52. As we just take a look at this box score here, 27 first downs for KU compared to Bentley's 13. 201 rushing yards. Only gave up 15 yards on the ground to this Falcons team. And it's not a team that doesn't run the ball at all. I mean, they certainly try, but Kutztown's defense was just ready for him. 301 yards passing for the Golden Bears, 502 total yards of offense, averaging 7.5 yards a play. Only one punt for KU in that game. Bentley had 4. 9 kickoffs for the Golden Bears. I mean, it was just incredible. 5 for 10 on third down. Kutztown has struggled a little bit on third down these last few games. They were one of the best. They still are one of the best teams in the country, but they were number 1 a few weeks ago. They went 3 for 9 against Bloomsburg. I think they were just under 50% against IUP. And then just at 50% here against Bentley. So they've dropped a little bit, but still a very good third down team. I think if that's, as you get deeper into these playoffs, that's something that Kutztown's going to want to look at. It's got to be a little bit better on third down, set yourself up in third short, third manageable, and take those high percentage plays. But Kutztown went 1 of 2 on fourth down. Bentley went 2 for 8. 6 for 7 on red zone opportunities. They scored 6 times on 7 chances, had 5 sacks for 34 yards, and went 1 for 2 on field goals. In that game, did the Golden Bears. I mean, from start to finish, it was just complete domination from KU. They will get Assumption this Saturday. I believe it's officially confirmed for a noon kickoff, and it is. You never know for sure with the NCAA, what times they schedule everything. But we'll quickly go through the rest of the NCAA playoffs, some of the matches there. We'll play some highlights from the Bentley game and even a little bit from the Assumption game from week 1. So you know a little bit what you're getting into. But the way the NCAA playoffs work, if you are unfamiliar with Division II football, is there are 4 super regions that are broken up across the country by region, right? So really your Northeast teams are in Super Region 1, which is what Kutztown is in. That's the PSAC, the Mountain East Conference, the CIAA, and there's one other conference, the NE10, Northeast 10 Conference. That's like Massachusetts, you're real up north. And then there's Super Region 2, that's really down south. That's your Florida and everything over there. Then you start to go out west for Super Region 3. That's Michigan and your northern, western schools like that, Minnesota State, those schools there. And then Super Region 4 is your southwest schools. So that's like Harding, that's in Arkansas, Pittsburgh State, which is in Missouri, Northwest Montana State, Western Colorado, Central Washington. Those are some of the schools that make up that. It's not an exact geological lineup, but in general, that's kind of what everything looks like in terms of, you know, who's in what region and why. So 32 teams enter into the fold here for the NCAA playoffs. Obviously, there's one national champion that will be crowned on December the 20th at McKinney, Texas, which is it's actually a high school stadium that hosts the Division II playoffs. And you might be thinking, really, a college national championship is crowned at a high school stadium? I would encourage you, if you're not driving at the moment or anywhere else and you're listening in, just look up McKinney, Texas ISD football stadium and just see. I'll give you a second to look for it. McKinney, McKinney, Texas ISD football stadium. If you're looking at it, that's crazy, right? It's insane that is a high school stadium. That's Texas football, man. It's home to, I believe, 3 different Texas high school football programs, which I don't necessarily know how you line up a schedule with 3 teams sharing one stadium. I feel like you're probably going to run into problems there, but I don't know. That's beyond me. But anyway, they've been the neutral site for the NCAA playoffs for the last, I don't even know how many years. But they host. That's the goal, is to get to McKinney, Texas, which is a remarkable town, remarkable city with a fantastic stadium. Despite it being a high school stadium, it certainly does not look the part. I would imagine you could host some FCS games there at the Division I level. You can probably even host like some lower end FBS games. You can get teams like Northwestern. You can get like the American Conference over there. It's a fantastic stadium. But anyway, so there's 4 super regions, 8 teams in every super region. The first round, obviously, everyone plays, 32 teams. We go down to 16, then we go down to 8, down to 4, down to 2, then 1. Right? Natural progression of any tournament. Only the first 4 teams in every region are seeded. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 based on record, strength of schedule, things like that. And then 5, 6, 7, 8, they're not seeded like outright. Like they're not given the 8 seed. But typically it's like the team with the lower schedule is going to play, or the lower strength schedule, worst record is going to play number 1. But also it depends on like, does travel make sense? Is it within 600 miles, which is the threshold? There's all kinds of factors that go into who plays who. But generally speaking, they try and take, okay, well, who would be the 5 seed? And then they will play the 4 seed. Who would be the 8 seed if we could pick? Sometimes there's some flexibility based on, yes, this team may be the 5 seed, but then that means they're getting on a plane and going to this school. Whereas if we put them at the 8 seed, they can bus over to this school, which is 2 hours closer. So all kinds of things like that go in at this level. Obviously, at the D1 level, it doesn't matter much because those schools can just get on the plane and fly wherever and whatever. But the Division 2 level budgets are a little bit smaller, so they try and avoid flights for as long as possible. And it's not always completely feasible to do so, but in general, they're going to try and avoid making teams get on the plane until maybe the second, third, or fourth round if possible. But the way that the seeding worked out is Kutztown was the 1 seed. They were unbeaten all year. No question that they deserved the 1 seed. Johnson C. Smith was the 2 seed. Virginia Union was the 3 seed. And then IUP was the 4 seed in Super Region 1. Kutztown obviously takes down Bentley 52-0. Assumption upsets IUP on the road. Kutztown is the only remaining seeded team left in Super Region 1. Frostburg State, which was unseeded, took down Johnson C. Smith, the 2 seed. And then the Virginia Union, another CIAA team, was taken down by Cal. So 2 PSAC teams remaining, an NE10 team, and then an MEC team left in Super Region 1. So Kutztown will host Assumption at noon this Saturday. And then for Frostburg State and Cal, they're both unseeded, so I'm not quite sure. I don't think it's been announced who's hosting that game yet. I'm very curious to see, though. Because that's big, right? Who gets the home game? I would imagine it might go to Frostburg State because I'm pretty sure their record's better. But that has to be you have to check with the schools to obviously make sure that they're able to host and have staff, especially on Thanksgiving weekend. You never truly know. So it actually is going to be at Cal. So 10-2 Frostburg State is heading to Cal for that playoff game. The Vulcans, Cal had 9-3, so a worse record. And actually, Frostburg State lost. That's why. That's probably the decision. Frostburg State lost to Cal on November the 1st, so that's a rematch as well. 31-26, and was a great game there. So Cal will host. So 2 PSAC teams hosting in Super Region 1. Cal PA taking on Frostburg State at noon. Kutztown taking on Assumption in a rematch of that season opener at noon. The winner of that game will head to the quarterfinals of the NCAA playoffs, also known as the Super Regional Championship games. Kutztown won the region in 2023. Slippery Rock won it in 24. So if Kutztown gets past Assumption, which will break down that matchup in a little bit, and then the winner of Frostburg and Cal, would head to Kutztown in round 3. Obviously, if Kutztown loses and Assumption goes on, they would have to reseed and see who could host, when, and why in the Super Regional title game. So that's Super Region 1. And then from there, after the third round, the 4 remaining teams left, it will be 1 from each Super Region, will be reseeded based on a number of factors, based on where they're ranked nationally, what seed they were coming into the tournament. So if you are unfamiliar, Ferris State and Harding are 1 and 2 in the country. Kutztown is 3. The reason that is important is Harding and Ferris State, both alive. Both teams that have won national championships in the past. Ferris won it last year. Harding won it in 2023. Ferris has been in 4 or 5 national title games or something like that. Harding has been there as well. If those 2 teams make it to the semifinals without any major hiccups, right? Obviously, if they lose, then they don't go. But unless they get they're down 4 scores at home to some team that really doesn't have a business being up 4 scores, and they come back and win, then maybe the committee's you're still good, but you're a 3 seed. More than likely, Ferris and Harding would be seeds 1 and 2 in the semifinals. And the reason that is important is because the higher two seeds will host those semifinal games. Those games are not a neutral site. They take place at the school of the higher seed. So Kutztown, because they've been the 3 team in the country all year based on pretty much every ranking that's out there, and probably the NCAA as well, they would, if Ferris and Harding don't lose, at best probably be a 3 seed, which means they now have to go to Ferris State, which is in Michigan, or they have to go to Harding, which is in Arkansas. That would be on December the 13th, where a hypothetical semifinal game would happen there. So that's why we kind of keep an eye on these things, because that's the difference between traveling and then hosting a team, obviously. Now, Ferris State and Harding, they have no easy matchups. A 4 seed in Ashland, that's a tough team. They were unbeaten until a couple weeks ago. I'm pretty sure it was Ashland. They beat Minnesota Duluth 32-7 in their opening round game. Out of Super Region 3, Ferris beat Northwood 65-14. So that'll be a good game, the two of them. Opponents that have played in the past. Harding takes on Pittsburgh State. Pittsburgh State, I believe, is the 5 team in the country right now, or ending regular season. Only the 4 seed in the region, but they're a fantastic football team. The Pittsburgh State, which is not in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, it's in Missouri, which I did not know. I had to find that out. But they take on Harding in a tough matchup. But the reason that's important is if Pittsburgh State beats Harding, now if they now turn around and win their region, Pittsburgh State, which was a 4 seed coming into the region, they have been ranked behind Kutztown all year in every national poll. They likely at best can get a 3 seed. Kutztown would then get a 2 seed and now would host the 4 seed, which would likely be the team that maybe Albany State have Super Region 2, potentially West Florida if they win that one, Newberry. Ton of teams. So we don't know for sure, but all that to say is Kutztown is praying for a loss for either Ferris State or Harding from a competitive advantage, right? Because you don't want to have to get on a plane and go wherever. You want to face these teams, which are very tough football teams. You want to at least see them on your own turf, right? You want to see them on your own field where you're not having to travel. You can go through your routine as normal and make them travel, make them, have a new routine, be in a new environment. I mean, for Harding, right? They play in Arkansas. Arkansas is down south. That's relatively warm. You bring them up in December to Pennsylvania, like cold's a factor for a run first football team. Those are the advantages that you play for, and that's why you kind of hope for a loss to either Ferris or Harding. So like you have to host these. You now host these teams. Maybe a team from down south has to come up and play in the cold. So that's why we hope for that. I actually did talk. I've talked to Judd Novak, the Kutztown quarterback, pretty much before every game the last couple of weeks. And I asked him, I was like, is there for you, right? Like, what would you prefer to do? Like, you make it to the semifinals. Do you prefer to host or do you want to go somewhere? And he's like, I mean, competitively, you always want to, home field advantage wise, you want to host. But also, the best moment in his career, he said, was in 2023 in his freshman season when Kutztown was in the semifinals and was a lower seed and went to Colorado School of Mines. So they went cross country to Colorado, which is a beautiful stadium. And he's like, just going out there and experiencing that, and despite the fact that it probably put us at a competitive disadvantage, still probably the best moment in my career just because it was such a cool place to play, such a unique experience. You got to remember, these Division II guys, they're not getting on planes. When you get the opportunity to get on a charter plane and fly wherever, and you're staying in a hotel for a couple of days, with your teammates, and you're playing in a new place and somewhere you would not get to see otherwise, that is a really cool thing. And that's what makes the Division II playoffs so special. So obviously there's a sense you want a home game, but I mean, if you feel like you're a good football team, which is Kutztown team, they think they are. They think they can beat anybody. Obviously you want to be at home if you can, but being on the road it's not a death blow. It's looked at as it's a cool experience. Let's go somewhere cool and let's win a football game. And let's try and get to a national title game. So that's kind of the outlook that it seems like a lot of the team has. As we have broken down really the first round of the playoffs there. I do have some highlights here. So if you did miss the Kutztown Bentley game this past Saturday, don't worry, I went through and grabbed some of the highlights from the radio call here on KUR. Here's every score, turnover. Here's what you missed this past Saturday. Novak drops back. Bentley sending 4. Novak has time as he works out right. Pressure coming. He's just going to tuck it and run up to the 40, to the 35 before he steps out of bounds right around the 33. Not going to be enough for a first down, or is it? And it is. So he does have enough to move the chains. I thought he was spotted a little bit shy, but the official's saying, nope, he had enough. So a big-time 3rd and long pickup from Judd Novak using his legs out of an empty backfield. Corsoa is the lone receiver left against Jacob Flores. Looks like he might have one-on-one coverage over there. Play clock down to 5. Novak drops back. Looking left side, Crisilla, end zone! Touchdown! Noah Crisilla working against single coverage. Over the head of Jacob Flores, a beautiful route to the left side of the end zone, and Kutztown strikes first on their home turf. Novak play fake to Martin. It's going to go long. Jamin Bryant has space. What a catch down at the 10. Novak with a bomb to Jamin Bryant on the right side.
Wow.
What a pass all the way down to the 10-yard line out of the timeout.
And what a catch there by Jamin Bryant. Full extension, getting it at his fingertips, falling down at the 10. That's an incredible play there.
So 2 receivers right, 1 left, tight end on the left side. Here on 3rd and 21. Warnock working left. Pocket collapsing. Fires and intercepted along the far sideline. Lee Coleman has the pick. And Kutztown's defense comes up with a big-time turnover there on 3rd and long. Coleman ultimately sits down in the deep coverage, comes up with the ball, read it perfectly. 9th interception of the year for the Golden Bears. 12-18 remaining in the half. KU on top 10-0 against Bentley in the first round of the NCAA Division II playoffs. 1 receiver left, 1 right. Stephen Burkhardt back in at running back in the shotgun. Novak will drop back. Gonna air it out again. This time Priscilla wide open down the right sideline. All the way down to the 20 before he's finally thrown to the turf. Another big-time throw and catch. This time it was Novak up to Noah Priscilla. All the way down to the 20-yard line. And Novak's arm is just unglued here today.
I don't think I've seen the Kutztown offense with this many deep balls all year. Novak is firing right now.
So 3rd and 9 from the 19. Empty backfield. Novak has time. Looking end zone. Fires. And caught. Lanique Preston in the back of the end zone. What a catch. Had Lanique 2 defenders Preston, on him. Man. Did not matter. That might be another Sports Center moment for Lanique Preston.
It almost looked exactly like the one that was on Sports Center. That was an incredible catch by Lanique Preston.
What a grab. Don't necessarily have to abandon the run, but not a ton of time here. 3 receivers right, 1 left. Crisilla was the lone receiver left. Ben Martin is the running back in the gun to the left of Novak. Novak drops back, steps up in the pocket, evades the sack, fires downfield. Lanique Preston all the way down at the 40, down to the 35. What a catch on the post. And that'll help the 2-minute drill. Already in Bentley territory.
Another incredible throw from Novak there, finding a receiver deep downfield.
3 receivers to the right, 1 to the left out of the timeout here. Stephen Burkhardt is back in at halfback. 2nd and 5 from the 10. Crisilla goes in motion from right to left, so 2 receivers left, 2 right. Amorum and Preston are the receivers right as Novak drops back. Fires out of the backfield to Stephen Burkhardt, who will walk in untouched into the end zone. 23-0. Kutztown on top. A perfect 2-minute drill. Really a 1-minute drill. Not even. Eats up to about 40 seconds of game clock. They go about 76 yards down the field. Cap it off with a Stephen Burkhardt touchdown reception. Sun is starting to part through these cloudy skies here. 2 receivers right, 1 left. Tight end off of the right side. Warnock. Low snap. Drops back. Redder chasing him out left. And he's going to bring him down. Warnock cannot escape. Freddie Redder, first team all-conference defensive end, has dealt with some injuries this year, but comes up with a huge sack there, and Bentley goes 3 and out on an ever-important opening drive to start off the second half. Bentley will start with 3 receivers right, 1 left. Quick throw to DeSias. Flag comes in, ball hops out, and it's going to be returned. Lee Coleman runs it in for the touchdown. A flag on the field. We'll have to see if this will stand, but if it does...
That's a receiver's glove that flew out on the field.
No, it's not a flag. It's DeSias' yellow glove. So Lee Coleman rips that ball free, scoops it up, and returns it for a touchdown. So what a defensive gain for Lee Coleman. Had the interception earlier and now does it himself and runs it in for 6. So
So Maxwell is directly behind Novak. Craig Miller is in the shotgun, offset to his right. Martin is offset to his left. Tight ends on either side. Novak under center. Turns, handoff to Craig Miller, who crosses the plane, and he's in. So Craig Miller comes in, and then his first snap of the game takes it across the end zone, does the redshirt freshman to pile on again, 37-0. Kutztown on top over Bentley, looking to make it 38 with the extra point here. Three running backs behind Novak.
Craig Miller touchdown here.
Craig Miller is right. Ben Martin is left. Maxwell. Novak hands it to Miller, who pushes his way forward, and he's in for the touchdown. His second touchdown of the game for Craig Miller. He was the right running back. Took it following two blockers in the form of Ben Martin and Luke Maxwell. Crosses the plane, and now 44-0. Kutztown leads over Bentley. Back here at Andre Reed Stadium, two receivers right, one left. As Russo's going to throw, looking end zone. Tyrene Heinsohn goes up, and he has it. Touchdown, Tyrene Heinsohn. That's his first collegiate touchdown. On the far side pylon.
What a throw by Antonio.
What a dot.
By Antonino Russo.
His first throwing touchdown, and he links up with Tyrene Heinsohn for his first career receiving touchdown. Here in the playoffs, what a moment.
This past Saturday's game, Kutztown cruises to a 52-0 win over Bentley in the first round of the NCAA Division II playoffs. You are listening to the Golden Hour on the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR Kutztown. Tommy Scuderi here with you. For the rest of the show here, we're going to open up the phone line, 610-683-4058. That is 610-683-4058. If you want to call in, give your thoughts on anything Kutztown athletics, any sport, feel free to give a call. One more time, that's 610-683-4058 if you'd like to give a call. Returning back to the national championship, which is ultimately the goal for this Kutztown team, the deck is stacked against them. The super region that they're in, Super Region 1, it's been 10 years since a team has even made it to the national championship game from said super region. Shepherd did it in 2015. They lost 34-7 to Northwest Missouri State, who won back-to-back national titles in 2014 and 2015. And before then, you'd have to go back all the way to the year 2000 to where a team, not even from the PSAC, but from the super region, made it to a national title game. That was in the year 2000, where Bloomsburg went against Delta State and fell 63-34. That also preceded both Shepherd and Bloomsburg. That was back when, before the game was even played in McKinney, Texas. It was played in Kansas City, Kansas. And then you go back even further to try and find, all right, who won a national championship from Super Region 1? I can't find anybody. I mean, the Super Regions have realigned so much. I mean, Lehigh was probably in Super Region 1 in 1977. But I don't even think the Super Regions started. I'll do a quick check as to when that was originated. 1973. Is when they started actually doing the championships. It's always been a single elimination tournament. Originally it was 18s up until 1998, where it was expanded to 16, then 24, 28, and then now 32. But Lehigh won it in 1977. Lehigh, of course, now a Division I team. Back when they were D2, they won 33-0 in 1977. So I guess you can maybe point to that as the first instance where a team that from Super Region 1 won it. Delaware maybe was in Super Region 1. In 1979, they won 38-21. But then from there, it's Texas State, North Dakota State, Troy, Pittsburgh State, North Alabama, Northern Colorado, Delta State, Grand Valley State. Grand Valley State under head coach Brian Kelly, by the way, from 2002 to 2003, won back-to-back national titles before he went off to the Division I level as we know it. Valdosta State won in 2024, Grand Valley State in 2005, 2006, Valdosta State in 2007, Pittsburgh State again 2011, again Valdosta State 2012. Northwest Missouri State in 2013, as well as 2015 and 2016. Texas A&M Commerce, Federalist State, West Florida. And then 2021 is where Ferris really burst onto the scene. They won it in 21, 22, and 2024. So 3 of the last 4 has Ferris State won. They are the unanimous number 1 team in the country. It was also 2018, by the way, is when McKinney, Texas, became the site of the Division II National Championship. Ferris State lost in that first game 49-47 to Valdosta State. They got their revenge in 2024, winning 49-14 against that same team. So all that to say that a team from Super Region 1 very rarely makes it to the national title game. And even rarer than that, do they win it. There was maybe a couple instances where a team that was in Super Region 1 ultimately won it, and you have to go all the way back to the 1970s to point that out. So the deck has certainly been stacked against teams from this region for quite a bit. Kutztown, I don't think it means the deck is stacked. I think it's, not to disrespect any of the teams in this, not to disrespect any conference, but I think the football is just so different amongst these other schools that teams from Super Region 1, they play one another, and they're, the best team comes out of there like, all right, we're a really good team, and then they face a team that's just on a different level. Ferris State realistically could be a D1 team. The amount of transfers that they get, they send players to D1 all the time. They'll come in, play in D2 for a year or two, and then they'll go to Trinidad Chambliss was the Ferris State quarterback last year, won a national title, just went to Ole Miss and is just starting at Ole Miss now and doing well. Speaking of Miss, I don't understand why their head coach is just so like Lane Kiffin. Like, what is he going to leave for? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like you're at like some lower end school. You're at Ole Miss. And you're going to leave for LSU and another team in your conference. That makes no sense to me. You're better than LSU right now. LSU fired their head coach. Like, I just don't understand like where the minds. They fired Brian Kelly, who we were just talking about. I just don't understand it. What point there is in leaving? I don't know. I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me. But I don't know. It's not important to us, right? But anyway, you are listening to the Golden Hour. This is Thomas Scuderi here with you on the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR Kutztown, talking about the NCAA Division II playoffs. Kutztown advances to the second round against Assumption. They beat Bentley 52-0. They will take on another NE10 team, last NE10 team alive in this tournament, in Assumption, a team that they beat 51-14 in the opening game of the season. And don't worry, you might be thinking, man, I really wish I can remember what happened in that game, right? It's so long ago. Like, what happened? Like, what was the score? Like, how did the scores happen? Well, the score is 51-14. I told you the score. But me thinking, I just wish there was highlights spliced together of the last time these two teams played. Well, if you are wondering that, congratulations, there is. Here is Kutztown versus Assumption. This was the season opener for the KU team, the game that lasted 5.5 hours. We have 3 minutes here of the highlights, every score, some turnovers there as well, of what happened in Kutztown's 51-14 win over Assumption. So back in a few minutes.
Offense is going to stay out Luke Maxwell, the fullback. It goes to Maxwell. Maxwell plows ahead, and he's in for the touchdown, the first of the year for the Golden Bears. Luke Maxwell strikes first for KU. 3 receivers to Novak's right. Stewart in the shotgun to his left. Novak takes the snap, drops back, has some time, airs it out to Preston, who brings it in. Touchdown, Kutztown.
Made up for that last one.
Perfectly placed ball. Lanique Preston climbed the ladder, brought it in, avoided what could have been a monstrous hit from the safety coming down as he ran that out route into the end zone. Caught it right around the goal line. And the gamble to go for it on fourth down pays off as Kutztown puts up 6 on the first passing touchdown of the year. Under the left, tight end set off the left tackle as it handoff goes up the middle of Stewart, who has space. One man to beat in, gets by him. 30, 20, 10, and Jaden Stewart will take it all the way to put Kutztown back on top by 2 scores.
Put on the burners right there. As soon as he got to the 20, he saw the touchdown, free and open, sped up, touchdown. Golden Bears up by 2.
And that's where Kutztown is so dangerous. Just at the drop of a hat, can have a huge run like that, and any momentum that Assumption was starting to build up just immediately squashed. Hill 4 straight times if necessary to punch this one in.
Going to be a lot of pressure on Everett, Conti, and Conklin.
Yep, heavy set. Hands off to Maxwell. Maxwell up the middle, moving the pile, and he's in for the score. Second touchdown of the day for Luke Maxwell, and it is 29-7. Golden Bears with 2:14 remaining in the first half. Break it down the left side. 20, 10. Still going, touchdown. Oh my goodness. 3rd and 35 on the halfback draw with the rain pouring. Jaden Stewart slicks his way past defenders into the end zone. And just like that out of the break, Kutztown is on top 36-14. Oh my.
I am baffled. I am sitting here with my jaw on the floor right now.
I mean, it was 3rd and 35.
They were at the 42, weren't they? No, yeah, they were marked. Oh my God, they were marked at like the 45.
That is the second 40-plus yard touchdown run for Jaden Stewart today.
Kind of weird hearing the play calls from the sideline. That is a new one for me.
Yeah, typically you can't hear that with the crowd noise, but can't hear. So Novak, 2 receivers out the either side. Burkhardt in the back. Novak has a man over the middle, caught. Jamie and Bryant is in to score.
The redshirt junior coming out to play. Welcome to, I want to say Friday morning football, but it's so close. It's so close.
Thursday, late night Thursday football.
Minutes away.
Another big play for Kutztown. Jamie and Bryant, the redshirt junior, who had 1 touchdown last year, 17 completions for 205 yards, gets in the end zone there for KU on a 3rd and 11.
Yeah.
So Zamont takes the snap, again hands it to Cunningham. Cunningham bounces it outside. Cunningham has room. 1 man the beat. 10, 5, touchdown. The first collegiate touchdown, I believe, for Eli Cunningham, the redshirt freshman from Loyola, Pennsylvania. Lancaster Catholic native. Finds some space, bounces out right, and Kutztown and continuing to pour it on.
So that was game 1 of the season for KU. They won 54-14 over Assumption, who they will see this Saturday in the second round of the playoffs. Assumption going to be looking for some revenge there. The funniest thing about going back and listening to that tape is, you can hear the exact moment that it hit midnight, and myself and Alex, who were calling that game, were just completely exhausted. You can hear the shift in our voice from energetic and to, tired and dry. And, man, we've been here for 5.5 hours. We're still calling football. I mean, this is insane. We have no voice left. We've been talking for 4 hours straight. You can hear that happen. I think it happens right around the 4th clip. I think I spent it all on that long Jaden Stewart touchdown run, there's been a lot of electric moments this season. I still think that's probably the most electric moment that I've seen all season long. The fact that it was 3rd and 35, the first play from break after an 1.5-hour delay, the energy that was there in the stadium, mixed with that huge run into the end zone. I mean, I think that might be one of the best moments of the season. There's been a ton. Steven Burker had a 91-yard touchdown run a few games after that. Ryan Chernecki, the left tackle, got in that running back against Millersville and took it across the end zone. There's been a lot of great moments this season. All of them captured on KUR, by the way. I would encourage you to listen every single week, myself and the rest of the sports team. I like to think we do a good job calling those games. I don't know, I guess maybe if you thought those highlights were terrible, then don't listen. But if you thought they were good, tune in every Saturday. It'll be 12 o'clock Eastern this Saturday, November the 29th. If you're not going to be on campus, that's all right. It's Thanksgiving break. Most people aren't coming back till Sunday. Don't have ESPN Plus? Throw on the radio call. Mixcloud, MyTuner, any way that you get KUR. Make sure you tune in that game. 12 o'clock Eastern time is when that game starts. 11:30 coverage will begin with our pregame show. We have halftime and postgame shows as well. We have interviews with Coach Clemens at half every week. We usually grab a player for an interview on the pregame show. A lot of great content going on there surrounding our football team as they continue to try and go deeper and deeper into these playoffs. Again, if you want to call in, give your thoughts on anything we've talked about so far in this show, that's 610-683-4058. That is the studio line here at KUR. Again, you're listening to the Golden Hour, radio voice of Kutztown University. Golden Hour is your home for all things insights, discussions, interviews, and recaps about all things Kutztown sports. I'm Tommy Scuderi. Just 15 minutes left in the show here as we approach Thanksgiving break. Basketball season's underway. We'll talk a little bit about that to close out the show. But I want to continue this to wrap up football here. And I know I might have said that I was done with clips. I do have one more clip that I would like to share because this is probably the most insane thing that I've ever seen in the playoffs. So, for some backstory, this was in Super Region 2. Benedict taking on Wingate. Wingate was up 24-0 in this game. Benedict works their way back. It's 19-24. They trail. There's 3 seconds left on 4th and 10. Benedict has the ball on their own 14-yard line. So what do you do if you're Wingate, right? You drop all your defensive backs back, and you just, you play tackle football. You keep everything in front of you. You bring them down in bounds, and you end the game, and you go to round 2 of the playoffs. Instead, this happened. This was on SportsCenter. I mean, if you haven't seen this clip, I'll give you a listen. I would encourage you to go check it out as well because the visual does a little bit more than the audio will. But I just want to play this madness that occurred at the end of a playoff game somewhere else in the country.
On the final play, Jensen, one, is going to have to get it off and then complete the pass. They've been a little wild here in the last couple of plays. He'll just dump it down to Simmons. Simmons pump fakes. Now he'll throw it all the way to the other side of the field. There's room down the sideline. Boss chasing him down. Brandon Perry trying to get to it. Oh my goodness. Benedict has scored. Benedict has scored. Holy cow. Bananas.
Bananas might be the best word. I love that. That's my favorite part of the whole clip. But first of all, it's just to show that games are never over until they're truly over. How you are not in prevent defense. I know everyone kills prevent defense because they think it prevents you from winning. There's 3 seconds left. Why on earth are you in traditional coverage at all? There is zero. They're lined up. I mean, they're lined up in an offense here. I mean, they have a couple of guys back. Well, there's no reason that you have 3 guys on the line and everyone else is at minimum at midfield. Benedict is on their own 14-yard line. They have 4 receivers on the field, a halfback. First of all, why do you have 4 defensive linemen even on the field? I guess that's not the worst thing. The linebackers, there's corners pressed up. They do have some back by midfield. I didn't see it in the initial, but immediately they crash down. So Benedict throws a quick slant to their near side wide receiver at the 20-yard line, who pump fakes. One defender jumps up like it's basketball. He got pump faked out of his shoes. That receiver runs up to around the 30, throws it across the field behind him to a wide open receiver on the right sideline. There's no one there. The guy whose, I guess, responsibility was to keep the far side sideline there, he pulls down because he's crashing towards the ball, but the ball is thrown. So now, this Benedict receiver gets all the way up to the midfield, and even then, the pursuit from Wingate is not terrible. There's 2 guys here that have an angle. Like right now, the Wingate receiver is the Benedict receiver is at the 40. This guy coming from the 45 takes a terrible angle, just gets sped by, and there's still a safety who has a chance to get him at the 30 and just gets outran, gets hands on him, and I guess he just tried to push him out of bounds. Doesn't wrap up at all, and the Benedict receiver just shakes him off and runs into the end zone. So just know, no matter how devastating of a loss any team you root for may have had this past week, it was not worse than that. I mean, 86 yards to lose a playoff game on the final play of the game. It wasn't even like it was, there was 20 seconds left and they went by. It was 4th and 10 with 3 seconds left. You were up by 5. At one point, you're up 24-0 in that game. That is absurd. But Benedict does come back And now they will play the number 1 seed in their region, in Super Region 2, Albany State, at 1 o'clock this Saturday. West Florida, the 2 seed, takes on Newberry, the 3 seed. And then over in Super Region 4, 1 seed Harding takes on 4 seed Pittsburgh State. That's probably game of the week if I had the pick in Division 2. If you want to watch just a really unique Division 2 game that's likely going to be a good one, at 2 o'clock I would watch Harding and Pittsburgh State on ESPN+. Harding's such a fascinating team. If you're unfamiliar, they basically just run the wishbone offense, wing T. They have tight ends, 3 running backs in the backfield. They never throw the ball, essentially, and they just run it on everybody. And they put up like 400 or 500 yards rushing a game, and just beat up every team. It's absurd. And then Western Colorado takes on UT Permian Basin. Not a school I've heard of. At 3 o'clock. Permian Basin took down CSU Pueblo, a 3 seed in Super Region 4. So, a lot of interesting things happened in the playoffs in Division 2. I just can't go with that Benedict loss. I know, like, no one even probably knows where Benedict is listening to this. I certainly didn't. But just insanity. Like, just the description, bananas, I think, is how the announcer described it, which I couldn't use a better word. I love a good, like, borderline cringy term. Bananas, my goodness. Nuts. I don't know. I love those descriptions. I'm a sucker for them. But anyway, to round out the football portion, again, if you have any final thoughts, we have 9 more minutes on the show. 610-683-4058 is the number you can call. Put in the studio line. We'll have a conversation there on the air about anything you may want to talk about in terms of Kutztown athletics, whether it's field hockey, football, soccer, anything else that you may want to discuss. Line is open, 610-683-4058. About 9 minutes left on the show here. That will round out our football talk. 12 Eastern on Saturday. Kutztown football hosts Assumption. Be there if you can. If you can't, listen. And if you can't listen, watch on ESPN+. Cheer on your Golden Bears as they try to get to the quarterfinals, which they will host if they can beat Assumption because they are the higher seed. So we'll shift gears here for the final portion of the show. And we'll talk basketball. Season's underway here. We've had both home openers for both the men's and women's team. Both of them won their home openers against Penn State Schuylkill, who is a borderline Division III team. They don't play in like the NCAA or a weird. They're like the Penn State affiliates. They play in their own conference, but they play in like another sort of affiliated overall league. I don't know. It's very confusing. But basically, the best equivalent that you have is a D3 school. So it's not like, wow, they crushed Penn State Schuylkill. They must be really good. I mean, they're a Division III school. Certainly capable of, tough teams, especially basketball. I think we've seen throughout the start of the year, there's been all kinds of D2 schools going and upsetting D1s and D3s upsetting D2. So it's not impossible for that to happen. But, that's the way these things go. So we'll start off with the Kutztown women's team. They won the conference last year in 2024-25 season. Beat Edinburgh. Started the year off 2-2. They went down, had a tough matchup against Glenville State. Fell 64-60. Then responded with a win the next day against Salem, 71-35. Beat Penn State Schuylkill 105-36. Pretty much everyone on the roster got in the game, and I think everyone scored in that one as well. And then Jefferson, they fell in a low-scoring affair, 50-48. Biggest thing for that Jefferson game this past Saturday was the three-point shooting. The shots just would not fall for KU, and sometimes you have one of those days. But their defense was terrific, kept them in it, ton of turnovers. But they finished 3 of 26 from beyond the arc, just 50 for 57 from the field. It's tough to win a game when you're shooting 11% from 3 and 29% from the field. I mean, you're going to have a tough time winning any game shooting like that. 11 of 18 from the free throw line. Got to do better at the charity stripe as well. I mean, you make 3 more free throws, you win the game. Just 61% there. So not a great game for the Golden Bears women's team this past Saturday, but with Coach Maloof and the rest of that team, I'm sure they will bounce back strong. They will play on December 1st. Next, they have a week off. They'll take on Wilmington at the Keystone Arena on their home floor. 5:30 on Monday before rounding out a 4-game homestand against IUP on December the 6th. that's for the women's team. The men's team, they had some scrimmages and stuff, but their first official game was against Penn State Schuylkill on their home floor last Wednesday. Beat them 117-68. They were, dishing the ball around, giving everyone a chance to score there. And then went out to Georgian Court, fell in a tough matchup there, 69-66 to the Lions. They'll be back on Monday as well. They take on Frostburg State. So not Wilmington like the women's team. Typically, if you're unfamiliar, the men's and women's basketball teams, they will play together. They'll play the same schools back to back, just because it's easier on travel and scheduling and all that. Beginning of the year, there's some more flexibility, so they usually branch out and do their own things before coming back together, usually early December for that. So they take on Frostburg State Monday at 7:30. That's December the 1st. And then IUP is when they'll kind of start playing the same schools as the women's team on December the 6th. That being at 3 o'clock. Men's team is under interim head coach Tom York. Coach Driscoll retired at the end of this season. Tom York will have this season to kind of take over and potentially try and earn himself the head coaching job. He's been at Kutztown for, I think, 26 years total as the assistant to Coach Driscoll. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. He's been the assistant to Coach Driscoll for 26 years. He was the former coach of the women's team for 7 years before Coach Janet Maloof took it over. So plenty of potential head coaching experience there as Tom York will try and win the job and turn around this Golden Bears team. Basketball is such a tough sport to do so because, as both coaches have explained to me, is KU is bottom of the conference pretty much in funding overall for most of their athletics. That's just not the university's goal, is to be a top-tier athletic team every year. As long as most teams are competitive for the conference title each year, then that's fine. They're not going to give more money, which makes recruiting tough. Obviously you can't get the best players because your facilities aren't as great and there's not as much scholarship money to give out to recruits. So they've always had a bit of a tough time, but still able to. Obviously it's what makes all of the success of the fall so impressive because they're doing it without as much funding as some of the other schools in the conference have. But the men's team is 1-1. Women's team is 2-2, both at 500 to start off the season. We'll keep an eye on them as well as wrestling, which will be getting started soon as the season progresses. But final minute here, we'll keep the phone lines open for one more minute. 610-683-4058 if you're interested. Have any thoughts you'd like to give on the Golden Hour before we conclude here for Thanksgiving break? Hope you all have a great Thanksgiving on Thursday. Not that I need to tell anyone when Thanksgiving is. I'm sure everyone is quite aware. The classes will inside Tuesday, and it'll be a brief reprieve for all of our athletic teams and for myself here on the Golden Hour. Final season really starting to get underway. I wish everyone the best of luck on closing out the semester as well. Always a moment of joy when you can finish out a winter semester there. But I've been Thomas Scuderi here on the Golden Hour. This is the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR. Thank you for listening here. Another hour in the books, another episode in the books here this semester as we rounded out quite a few of our fall sports. Only Kutztown still going in the fall. Basketball and wrestling ready to get under. Basketball is underway, and wrestling will be getting underway in another week or so. We'll have that on the next episode. Watch and listen to Kutztown football this Saturday. Kutztown basketball picks back up next Monday. Thank you all for listening to the Golden Hour. I've been Tommy Scuderi here with you. Back to your regular programming here on KUR.
It's the top of the hour.
Ooh, I timed that perfectly.